Well, hello, and thanks for joining us on Tuesdays with Annette. That's right, I don't have my apron on, somebody else does. And this is the fabulous Diane that's worked with me for 9 years. We're having her anniversary this week, taking her out to lunch tomorrow, make her feel fizzy fabulous. And so Diane's going to cook for you because, hello, I've only got one good arm, and if you haven't been watching the show you might not know, but I actually slipped over on wet tiles and I've broken my humerus bone in my left arm. It's doing really well, but I can't put pressure on it, but it is getting better, so I'm very excited. I'm thinking positive, send my arm love, people. But so today, Diane, why don't you pop over, wash your hands? No, we're going to do this. Okay, these are the books we're using today. We're making, or she's making, fabulous Diane is making rock cakes, and they're in Cooking if 1 or 2, so you can make 6 if you don't want to be too tempted, or you can make them out of book 3 and make a dozen. So you have that option. This is an oldie but a goodie. I don't know about you, but what do you reckon, Diane? Rock cakes?
Oh, I don't reckon they get any better.
I
honestly.
know, love it.
I hadn't tried this recipe, like rock cakes, until I met you. And now I find out that people have been making them for 100 years.
I know, it's a real old recipe. No, okay, so I'm going to talk about the winners. Diane, you pop over.
First of all, just tell them, if they're cooking with us, turn the oven on.
Yes, hello, 200 degrees fan force. It's a little bit hotter, which is what you do with this type of recipe, like scones, it's a bit higher, even more. So with the rock cakes, 200 degrees fan force. Diane's washing her hands because she's going to cook for you, and I hope you've got the recipe because it's on the website. You can download it, rock cakes. And while you're washing, Diane, I'm going to talk about last week's show. Diane did a fabulous salad called Malay Salad out of Cooking 1 or 2. We're in love with book 1 and 2 at the moment, aren't we? But they had 3 fabulous winners, and that's Lynn Vanny, Jan Laws, and Tony Hughes. All got a person signed copy in the mail, ready for you girls. So I'll tell you how to win as we go on a bit later in the show, but I'm going to come back in a minute, in a little bit. Diane, take it over and enjoy the fabulous recipe of rock cakes.
Oh, hi everyone, hope you're doing well. Now, first of all, we're going to go through what we're going to need. So we need a lovely big mixing bowl. We need a wooden spoon. We'll probably need a spatula. And just a couple little extra things that I've got in here. A whisk, my favourite whisk, you know I love those whisks. We'll be using those a little bit later on. I've got the scales, the kitchen scales here, because I'm going to show you a little trick about how to get exactly the same size rock cakes. I have the sifter for sifting the flour. We'll leave that here for a moment. And I also have the tray that we're going to pop these onto when we pop them in, before we pop them in the oven. So let's go through the ingredients, what you're going to need. So you'll need 2 cups of self-raising flour. Make sure it's not plain flour, otherwise you really will have rock cakes. You need a cup of mixed dried fruit, and this one has some beautiful glacé cherries in it as well. I made this recipe on the weekend just to be sure I knew what I was doing. And I had 1 glacé cherry. I wasn't very happy because I love glacé cherries. We also have a 1/4 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, and we have a 1/4 cup of white sugar. That's our dry ingredients. Then we also have a wet mix. So we have 4 tablespoons of the Flora Light margarine. We've got a 1/2 cup of skim milk and 2 egg whites that we're going to be using for the wet mix. And then we've just got a little bit extra sugar we're going to sprinkle over the top, just 2 teaspoons. So before we get started, I'm just going to pop the Flora into the microwave so we can get that melting. And just turn the power down a little bit just to stop it from splattering. And leave that do its thing. Now we're going to start by sifting the flour. Now the flour's all measured out, so that's 2 cups. And I'll pop that into our sifter. Now, if you don't have this type of sifter, you can actually use just a metal sieve. And you do the same thing, you just pop the flour into it and then just tap it against the side of the bowl, and it works just as well. But we have a sifter, so we will use it. So, and some people will argue that you don't really need to sift the flour in Australia. I still like to. Gets any lumps out if you happen to have lumps in your flour. Just makes makes it a bit easier. So we'll pop those out of the way, pop that in our soapy sink. We've got that all ready to go. Then we're going to put in our mixed dried fruit. Now if you wanted to, if you might be one of those people that are saying, oh, I really don't like mixed peel, or there's something in the mixed dried fruit that you don't actually like, you can use different fruit. The key is just to make sure that you dice it up pretty small. You don't want, you wouldn't put a whole apricot or something in. And, anything like sultanas, currants, like if you do use apricots, just dice them up. Make sure it's a cup and pop it in the mix. That's that one. And then we have our 1/4 cup of white sugar and our little bit of cinnamon. This really does help. Just adds that little something. I love cinnamon and stuff. I even put cinnamon in Annette's breakfast shakes when I have it in the morning, because I love it. Banana and cinnamon, that's my favourite of Annette's breakfast shakes. Okay, pop those out of the way, put those in our soapy sink. Then we just give it a little mix. We want to get, if there's any lumps of the mixed dried fruit, you just want to get rid of any of those clumps. Give it a mix through. We want the sugar and the cinnamon, we want it all mixed through. Looking out, like I said, looking out for any clumps of the fruit, just breaking those up. Everything looks pretty good with this mix, so we're going to pop this to one side. Now we're going to put together our wet mix, and I just heard the microwave go, so that means our margarine has been melted. Yeah, that's beautiful. Now what Annette does here, she's so clever, because this recipe, traditionally, the whole flour and the butter and the whole, no, not with Annette's recipe. So we've melted the margarine. Then what she does is to pour the cool milk in with the margarine, and then we're going to crack the eggs. And remember, we're just using the egg whites, and we're going to pop those in the mix. No pressure on live TV to get just the egg white. Oh, look at that. It's going to play nice for me today. That's one. Pop those in the rubbish. Now people often ask us, what do you do with the yolks? Please don't give them to your dog. They're not good. They'll give them a fatty liver. We want our pets, our furry friends, to live a little longer. One every now and then is okay, but I wouldn't be giving them to them all the time. I'm just going to wash my hands, get the bit of yolk off, a bit of egg, I should say, not yolk. And then all we're going to do is give this a whisk up, because we want to mix that through. Now, because we have the heated margarine and then we've got the cold milk, the egg white's not going to cook. If you just put that egg white straight into your hot melted margarine out of the microwave, it'll actually start to cook, and you don't want that. So we give it a good mix. Now remember, so far we've put together our dry mix. We've preheated our oven to 200 degrees Celsius, fan forced, and we're just mixing up our wet mix. And so hello, if you've just joined us, you may wonder what I'm doing in Annette's kitchen. Well, I'm here because she's a little bit armless, as we've been joking around saying she's broken one of her arms, and I'm in the kitchen making rock cakes out of cooking for 1 or 2 people and also book 3. So now is time to put together our wet mix and our dry mix. How easy is this? Like, seriously. If I have people that say they're coming over, I know I've always got these ingredients in the cupboard, and I literally will think, oh, I'm just going to go and whip up some rock cakes. If I don't have anything to give them with a cup of tea, there's always tea in our house, I just whip up a batch of rock cakes and everyone's always impressed. Another thing that I do tend to do, because I like to be able to have 2 rock cakes, I tend to just do them a half size. So I end up with 24 out of my batch when I make them the full batch, or 12 when I make the batch out of cooking for 1 or 2. It's just a little something that I do. Okay, so what we want to do is just mix this through. don't know, Bill's just zooming in there so we can see, but you just want to make sure you dig down to the bottom because you don't want any of that white, you know, mixed down the bottom there. You want it all to mix in really well. Yeah, that's coming together really nicely now. Just a couple more just to make sure. Yep, that's looking fantastic. Now these freeze well as well, so if you're worried that you're going to be tempted if you've got them sitting out on the bench, as happens, yeah, we can actually just pop them in the freezer once you've cooked them. So we've got that mix there, and what we're going to do now is this is where I'm going to show you a little trick that we use around here because we're a little bit pedantic. We do like equal size rock cakes. Everyone here at Simply Too Good loves the rock cakes. So what I'm going to do is actually weigh out this mix. So I've pop the bowl on the scales. It's to 0 because it's actually the bowl's on there. Someone, by the magic of, there's someone in the background that's got a calculator, is going to actually help me here. So we'll pop this mix into the bowl, and then magically you're going to tell me how much each rock cake needs to weigh. Get everything in that bowl. Just scrape it off the spoon. We have 820 grams of mix there.
68.
So that tells me that each rock cake needs to be 68 grams. I'm just going to spray the tray, and then we're going to get into taking out 12 rock cakes. Put them on the tray. That's ready to go. And I'm just going to pop the little bit of cling wrap on there. 68 grams. So let's see how we go. So now these are really quite a rustic. Oh, hang on. Okay. Now I need to put the scales back to 0. So bear with me one moment. Beautiful, back to 0. So 68, Bill said, let's take a little bit off that. Oh, that's beautiful. Pop that one on there. They need to be, that's what I was going to say, they need to be a little bit rustic these, so don't get sort of over worried about trying to make them perfect because that's not what rock cakes are all about. They're easy, we just pop the mixture on. That's beautiful. A little bit more for that one. And bring it together. Pop it on the tray. I'll give that one a bit of a squish. So we want to go 3 down and 4 across because we want our 12 rock cakes.
How you going, Diane?
I'm good.
Don't they look easy to make?
Oh, they're so easy. And they're going to be delicious. What happened there? Take that little bit off. Oh.
You know, you could guess it, but I always worry that if I'd be too generous and I only end up with 10 rock cakes, I'm not going to be happy, Annette. So this is just showing you, as Diane's doing, just how you can get it exact. So you get 12, or the same if you're doing the cooking book too, it makes 6. Now, I personally want to say hello to everybody who's in lockdown right now, especially in Victoria, but I know other states is somebody in lockdown, and I hope that you're getting some time to enjoy the cooking show while you're just in lockdown. And we're thinking of you and sending you lots of love. Now, this is so easy to make, and remember, the recipe is on the website, so you can download it, and I would love it if you're going to make it, to put a picture in the comments so I can see your rock cakes. I mean, have a little bit of brag time, people, and show us your rock cakes. Now, this recipe, Diane, it comes from the United Kingdom.
Oh,
I know you mentioned it was a really old recipe.
Mm.
It's so old, it's really old. And I think why is because it's one of those ones that you just need some basic ingredients, as you said.
Yeah, exactly. And it's great. Like, if even, you know, grey nomads, like you can have all of these ingredients. If you've got kids and they're wanting to get in the kitchen, you know, maybe it's a rainy day, they're a little bit bored, something like that, this recipe is so easy, and you really can't do anything wrong with it, except I'm chatting and trying to make them a little bit bigger. Maybe that one's going to be mine. Yeah, so they're just so easy to make. Like, you can't do anything wrong. Like, you know, your muffins and stuff, you know.
Yeah, they're a bit delicate, the muffins, but these ones, rustic and fabulous, that's how we like them.
Yeah.
And I know some people have been saying that they make these in their camp oven.
Yeah.
And in their little Webbers. And they turn out so fabulous. Now, while you're doing that, let me tell you, if you've been wanting to join my end of summer challenge, it's a weight loss challenge that goes for 6 weeks. You're not too late. We started it yesterday. So look, if you've hesitated and you go, no, I really want to do it, then don't hesitate. Join me now. This is the week to be doing it, and you can find out more about it at simplytoogood.com.au/membership. And I'll be your mentor. I love it. How you going? Now, the thing is, you know, I love Diane's suggestions of changing up the fruit. If you're not a big dried fruit person, you know, you might not want the mixed fruit, or you go to the pantry and there's none in there, or only half a cup. As you said, what was it? You could change it to...
so
currants are really good, sultanas, and...
dried apricot.
Yeah, and dice them up though. That's a great idea. And I buy the really good branded mixed fruit. Yeah. That's why I got my cherries.
Yes.
Yes.
I did too.
Oh, did you?
I was just a little disappointed. I did buy the smaller packets, so maybe the smaller packets don't have as many.
Well, you know what you can do
cherries.
though is, Diane, you could buy a bag of Gosset cherries and add it into the weight.
That's a good idea. I didn't think to do that. Now, I noticed, Annette, that this recipe is only 2.7 grams of fat per rock cake. So,
yeah.
How do you do it?
Oh, please tell me I'm a genius. I want to hear that.
You're a genius.
Thank you. No, look, what it is a normal rock cake, you would, as Diane said, you'd put the butter in and you'd move it around a little bit like you do a scone. And I looked at that and I thought, oh no, please. That gets under my nails and my rings. I'm not having that. So melting is the way to go. But I used the low-fat flora margarine in it, so there's a saving. We don't put the yolks in, so we've saved 12 grams of fat straight up, and you won't even know that there's no yolks in there, people. And as well, not as much sugar. That's the thing. Only a quarter of a cup of sugar, because the sweetness you'll get is enough out of the dried fruit. So less carbs, less calories, less fat. Winner, winner, rock cake snack. Yeah, it's a really good one.
I knew there'd be a clever reason.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't notice the difference in taste, like, honestly.
And as Diane said, they freeze really well. Yeah, just pop them out as you need them, you know, and as I said, you know, you can do the 12 out of cooking for one, out of books 3, or you can do the cooking for 1 or 2 and just make 6. Yeah. So it's fabulous. Look at them, how fabulous.
Which is what I usually do, because let's face it, there's only one way to eat rock cakes, and that's pretty much straight out of the oven.
All right, now what are you going to do now, doll?
We're just going to tidy them up a little bit. They're rustic, they don't need to be tidied right up, but we want them fairly even height, because otherwise they will take different amounts of time to cook. And I tend to make them just a little bit, make sure they're a little bit round, because same thing, if you've got little bits that are hanging off the edge, they'll cook very quickly, and then they'll those little bits might get too
They look
crunchy.
Great.
I love them.
Thank you, United Kingdom, for this recipe. We love it.
We do.
And it's just easier than scones.
I was just going to say, yeah, like, who wants to make a batch of scones? I mean, these taste easily as good.
So what are you going to do next?
So we're going to put a little bit of sugar on the top. Now, why do you do this? This is always intriguing.
Well, it's the traditional recipe. They always put sugar on the top. And so they'll just plunk a whole lot of sugar in there. No, people, we're looking at our carbohydrates here, and good for diabetics as well. What I do is, and what you're doing right now, Diane, is it's 2 teaspoons of sugar go on the top. So what I do is I get the teaspoon like you're doing now, Diane, put it in your hand, and then you know that's for 6. Yeah?
Yep. Beautiful.
And that way you know you're getting enough sugar, it's allocated. Yes, you're a good, she's a good learner. And remember, the oven's 200. It's not, a lot of my recipes are 180, but it's 200 degrees fan force. Always make sure the light's gone off in the oven before you put them in the oven.
And they're ready to go. So let's pop them in the oven. Now, it says 20 minutes, but I know from when I'm cooking these at home, I always put them on for 15 minutes. and then that way we can check them, because we don't want burnt rock cakes, we don't want overcooked rock cakes. So 15 minutes.
Yeah, I like that because the ovens, everyone's oven varies, and I'll actually turn them because I've got a little bit of a hot spot in my oven, so I'll turn it about 10 minutes in. Yeah. And so do you want to see what they look like when they're fabulous and cooked? Because Diane, I mean, we're very excited to have rock cakes here. Hello. There we go. There's our dozen rock cakes that Diane made earlier. And look, if you do want to, they don't need anything on them, but if you do want to put a bit of margarine on them, make sure it's the low-fat marge. And don't forget, take a photo. I want to see it in your comments. So if you would like to win, hello, book 3 or cooking 1 or 2, you have to just like, share, and in the comments, you write a comment or a photo, whatever you do. And from that, if you've done that, I will pick 3 lucky winners. I mean, when you look at this, Diane.
I know. Who
knew? Weight loss could be so deliciously healthy. Now, come back on Thursday because I've got I've got different people coming in for the next few weeks. Let's fizzy it up a little bit. And so on Thursday, my fabulous friend Jen Forster, now you might know her because she's actually written in book 6, and we'll talk more about it on Thursday. She's making fish Italiano out of Cooking for 102. It is so fabulous, and I've invited her for lunch, but I've told her you have to cook as well and do it in front of everybody. So she's excited. Now next Tuesday, the recipe that will be made is something I think you might really love. It's smoked salmon pasta salad. It's out of book 7, and a lovely lady called Tam Wrigley is gonna make it with me on Tuesday. So remember, if you want any more tips or recipes, where do you go?
www.simplytoogood.com.au, and don't forget to check out that end of summer challenge. If you want that one, it's just /membership. And yeah, come and join us.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. Everyone's so lovely.
And people really do well because it is a challenge. You know, they're really into it and they focus on it. You get all your recipes, all your menu plans. I've worked hard on it, so's Diane. But in the meantime, I'll catch you on Thursday, but we're going to enjoy an early afternoon tea today. Thanks, Diane. You were amazing.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye now.
Bye.
Oh, you picked the big one, didn't you?